What's up, ecosystem? Welcome back to ATI Auto Business. My name is Jay. It's Friday. It's time for Cars on the Move. We're a little bit early today because we have a special guest. We have two special guests. We have Frank Zombo from Auto Exchange and Lee at Bob Allen Ford. Ty is going to tell us more. Please jump into the live chat, say hello, leave a like, click share, click copy, grab that YouTube link. Here we go. Please do help me wish a warm welcome to Ty, Frank, and Lee. Take it away, Ty.
Hey, Jay, thanks. We're here in Ottawa, Kansas. How big is Ottawa, by the way?
It is a town of about 11,000 people.
11,000. So you're not too far from Kansas City?
Yeah, we're about 35 miles from Kansas City, Missouri, Overland Park, Kansas. So just outside of the suburbs.
Outside of the suburbs, which is handy, right? Because it's growing. People are moving this direction. Is that
It is really filling in. Being on the interstate on I-35, major highway,
35 right there.
a lot of traffic. A lot of traffic comes through this area.
Holy cow, I didn't know that. Okay, so we're here to meet you, Lee, but that came through our buddy Frank, right?
Yeah.
Auto Exchange. So I'm curious to know, how did you guys, because how do you know each other?
Funny story. So, I've been on the show before, that I have some tied deep into the Kansas City area. I played here, for the Chiefs for 6 years. And then through that, I met Lee. And so a lot of guys on the Kansas City Chiefs, when they need vehicles, they go through Bob Allen Ford, they go through Lee. So Lee's formed a lot of connections with guys, playing there on Sundays. And when I retired from football and then started with the Auto Exchange, Lee was one of my first calls, and he was one of the early he was the first dealership to jump on Auto Exchange and start posting VINs onto our exchange, and has been doing that now for a year or so. And yeah, so when we thought of this idea to bring on a dealership point of view, Lee was the first one I thought of.
Well, I'm excited about that because we were talking earlier. I got here a few minutes earlier. We were talking, and I said, I want to talk just real quick because tell me again, when did you move into this store?
So we bought the dealership here in 2017. We have a store in Overland Park, Kansas that we've owned for almost 40 years. And so we jumped at the chance to buy another dealership in the same primary market area. And I came down here full time in 2020. So
2020.
we all know what happened.
I don't know what happened. So one of my main questions I wanted to find out. So I'm excited because I like to see everything from the dealer perspective. Because you're my customer. I always say, love the dealer. It's maybe one of the hardest guys to love, but love the dealer and watch how it works out because you always get what's chance, right? So before you weren't here at 2020, can you give us an idea of like volume and where you were buying parts maybe before COVID?
Sure. Our store in Overland Park is a much larger store in the metro area, so we might buy.
Time out. I hear echo feedback. You guys hear feedback, Jay?
Yeah, I do.
Who's that?
And I don't know if it's the other.
No, it's probably this one.
Could be.
That's probably like.
So we're live at Bob Allen Ford. All right, here we go. Take it away.
There we go.
Yep.
I just set that in you off.
Good call.
Okay.
Yep.
So you've back to buying cars before. That's what. Tell me about that.
So we would buy cars prior to COVID. In most cases, we would have a broker to use. The brokerage game was way too many people in that market. Everybody wants your business. Everybody's got the same product. You're not really in charge or in control of your stuff. You're just handing it off to a broker. So I think long term, we were always looking for something different.
Well, okay. So did you have buyers? Did you buy online? Or did you physically go to the?
So pre-COVID, we're in person at the auction, which is a much easier way to buy a car. You want to touch it, smell it, feel it.
And also, I would assume at some point, trading wholesale inventory goes somewhere. Where did that go?
So that typically goes to a regional auction. And at a larger dealership, you have a lot more trade-ins you're going to trade for in the parking lot. At a small dealership, it's much more difficult. The volume's not there. So you're buying cars online, and you've got to ship them here. So difficult to buy a car, sometimes even more difficult to find a way to get it here.
Well, because we're just a little bit out of the main drag, except for the I-35.
Absolutely.
So pre-COVID, it was usually physically at an auction, touching them and buying them, probably buying bulk. I would imagine.
Yeah,
Quite a few.
4 to 5 days a week, pounding the pavement, as we like to say, seeing the cars, and then buying a lot of cars maybe in town, maybe not shipping as many out of town.
If you had the ability to go to the auction, so you're in Kansas City, there's for sure 3 auctions, and if you throw in CarMax, we're talking 4.
Correct.
So there's plenty of inventory in the Kansas City metro area. Maybe occasionally go to Wichita, maybe occasionally St. Louis. But as a whole, most of the inventory, used inventory, is coming from the metro.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, that's the way we.
COVID comes in. What happened on that process? Just the acquiring used car in.
So all of a sudden, you're handcuffed. You can't go to the auction. Now you're relying on data online, photographs online, and information, and you don't know who is evaluating the cars. So quickly you have to figure out, how are we going to operate our business, still get the inventory we need, and as we later learn, the vehicle shortages occurred. So now at a small store, we're not trading for cars. We don't have new vehicles. Now everything for inventory purposes becomes a used vehicle, and we're trading for that car. We're purchasing that vehicle, and now we've got to get it here. So we branched out quite a bit outside of the Midwest, even north and northeast, to get these vehicles.
So this, to me, is setting up the perfect opportunity for that.
Absolutely.
Our program, our process, which we talked about, you're a process guy. This is what I like about dealerships, right? Tell us your process when you first got here. You came from a certain part of the dealership. What was that?
In terms of my process for acquiring the cars, ideally, you're doing research all week long on these vehicles to determine, it's kind of a needle in a haystack to find those. You want a fast turning item that yields either a quick release of the vehicle, or you want a vehicle that you acquire for far less under the market value. And so what happened during COVID is the valuations of those vehicles became extremely high, and you had to be careful what you bought, because we all know this: if you buy a vehicle and you don't turn the inventory and you sit on it, it over time becomes worth far less. You own it high, and that is a no-no in our business.
Turn, right. So they were talking about turn.
Absolutely.
The guy Jason Rice with Walton, he was talking about buckets. So 30-day bucket, 31 to 60-day bucket, and don't even talk about the third bucket. Right?
We have those buckets.
You got buckets?
Yeah, and sometimes we don't like to mention that one. It could be a large bucket towards 90 days.
If it's still here at 90 days, we all got a problem.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't do that. So that comes back to our previous way we acquired used car inventory got changed. Now we're buying online. We're branching out to places. We say, oh, it's a good deal. I only bought one. How long does it take to get that thing? Who are we dealing with when they get here? We used, Jay came up with this. We used to call it the cocaine bear. The transport guy rolling in to your parking lot, taking out all the cars at the end of his trip. So anyway, that changed. So now you're seeing, man, I'm buying cars online. I might have bought it cheap, but when it gets here, there's a couple problems. First, it took forever to get here. Now it's here, and the CR doesn't even come close. Now we've got to deal with how to get it back. The whole process turned into a mess, right?
Yeah, because
on a regular basis. I mean, not just like every other month. I mean, pretty much every time, right? You got pretty bad.
And in our business, time is everything with these vehicles. You've got to get them delivered here, get them through the repair shop, the recondition shop, and usually there's some variance on that condition report, as we all know. It's far worse than what somebody made a decision on to tell you, that it was maybe more lenient on the condition report. It gets there and it looks like a bear got a hold of it sometimes. So our process, we've got to get the vehicle cleaned up, front line ready, photographed, write a description, and you want that car to sell. And if you don't have a good process for that, your vehicles take 2 to 3 weeks to get ready, and the book changes every week on these cars.
Time to line. I do hear that. This is important, because what we're talking about, when we talked about this earlier, there's something pushing this herd. It's interest. Right? We were talking about that. It's a huge expense.
Probably the single biggest expense we have outside of payroll and advertising. If you don't manage your floor plan interest, it is insurmountable. And as vehicles sit on the ground and accrue interest, and from one day to the next,
we'll get into the buckets.
Yeah. And it's, as much as anything, you want to sell your cars and turn your inventory. You've also got to be able to manage your expenses. And when you're talking about large expenses, you have to have a detail-oriented person. So much of our business is about people and processes. And part of that process, a large part, is the getting the vehicle here with the transportation logistics. And Frank came into that picture post professional playing career, and it was kind of a natural fit. We want to work.
You've been doing it for a year, right?
Absolutely.
So this gets better. Your accountant in the back, before Frank comes along, now you're buying cars from everywhere. You're posting them on Central Dispatch, you're giving them to a broker.
We've done both. We've worked with singular brokers, and it really was up and down, and not a consistent process. Different drivers. There's turnover in those companies as well. So you might buy a car and not get a bill for it until months later, and that's a problem. You sell your inventory, you sell it from cost up, and now you're getting a bill a month after you sold the car. So that's an issue. Central Dispatch, another discussion.
Let's hear it real quick.
Well, ideally, there's big subscription fees. It's kind of a free for all, and you don't have the autonomy to control every aspect of it. You have no idea who the drivers are, and a lot of times there's communication failures. Maybe the fleet of trucks these folks are driving, the failure rate and breakdown for roadside problems. It's a nightmare, because again, we're talking about turn. How quick do you get the vehicle here to your dealership to get it ready to sell? And when it's out of our control, we're just a sitting duck.
Yeah, it causes a lot of frustration. So the accountant in the back is writing checks to all those people, and probably ready to pull their hair.
Absolutely.
And then dealing with them, hey, you owe me money, or you don't owe me, whatever that might be. So the accountant in the back's having a crazy problem too.
Yeah.
I mean, the trickle effect of what COVID did, people don't even understand, but it's a huge problem. Because you used to, I bet, you probably used JTs out of Wichita to haul some cars, right? Back in the day. Probably have drivers just drive them if you buy in Kansas City, have them here the same day. Right?
Yeah, ideally you had some relationships, and it was a fairly simple process, but it just wasn't effective. And COVID really, you had to learn how to reinvent your business, whether it was inventory, employees, the hours you were going to be open. We had to figure out PPP loans.
Yeah.
We're car people. We're simple people. We want to sell vehicles and service vehicles. We don't want to be experts in logistics and transportation or things outside the norm.
Right. That's what I always say. You guys just want to buy a car and sell a car. That's what you think of.
Sounds easy, right?
It's not. I always like to, I coach a lot of guys who want to be car haulers. So I always say, go to the car dealer and ask him what his electric bill is. Nobody knows that, right?
Right.
That's stupid. Am I right?
Yeah.
So knowing what your customer has to go through in order to service them better is what I teach. I want to know what your pain points are. I want to know. So that's where we get into, okay, you got used cars on the lot?
Sure.
Yeah. Where'd you get most of them? At an auction. Somebody took them to the auction. You bought them, whether you were on. Do you go more now to the physical? Or are you hooked online?
We're just hooked online. And we buy far fewer vehicles here in town where we can go see the cars. We buy more out of Detroit and the Northeast than anywhere.
Okay.
It just fits our niche.
Okay. So your used inventory, can you give us like a ballpark how many you got on the lot?
So we have about 90 used vehicles on the lot right now.
Right here?
Yeah, it's packed in here.
That's a lot.
You don't realize what's too much inventory until you have too much. And COVID taught us that. The last few years, the market changes on the values of the vehicle. So a lot of dealers have made a lot of money the last couple of years, but a lot of dealers have had some pain points with their used car inventory because the fourth quarter of 2022 and into this year, the vehicles almost overnight, it felt like, became worth, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 less money. And so now we're in a position where, how do I sell these cars at a loss, but keep the inventory fresh and coming in? So you've had to manage that this year. And so a lot of it always comes back to the turn of the vehicle as well as acquiring the fresh inventory. But you got to get the cars here, and it's dangerous buying cars online because you don't know what you're buying. So it takes a special person to do that.
Right. So you are still buying online.
Absolutely.
at most?
4 to 5 days a week.
And so, well, now we're moving into auto hauler exchange. So you got to experience this how I used to do it. Go to the auction. Hey, Ty, here's the gate passes.
Yeah.
I has them here tomorrow, right? Then we go to, let's buy online and buy everywhere. Now we're dealing with every transport guy, every nationality, every color. Headache. So then, here comes Frank, right? But now, tell us how this is working out today.
So it's pretty impressive. Frank came to me with some ideas related to our business and how his business can intertwine. And, anytime you have a new startup venture or a new business, you never quite know what you're getting into. We felt extremely comfortable working with Frank, but we didn't know necessarily the backside to the company. And let's face it, there's a lot of options out there with transportation of vehicles, and there's a lot of bad options. Holding Frank in high regards, I trusted him. He really felt extremely confident in their ability, and he laid the program out for us. And we got going one day and started it, and it couldn't be probably going any better than it is. Super impressed. The portal, the website, the control we have is beautiful for us because we list the cars, we see when they're assigned, and we set the price. So not only did Frank help me save money, but he put me back in control of my cars, and that has proved to be so invaluable for us. We ship a lot of cars, as I mentioned, from Detroit, Nashville, and a lot of these regional areas. We're getting the cars back in some cases in 24 hours, 48 hours. And the key is we're saving money.
Okay, so now, Royce, the CEO, was on the show Tuesday night, and he was talking. So have you heard of a company like Rapid Recon or any kind of recon guys? So we had a similar company. I just went blank on the name.
Simple Recon?
Simple Recon.
What is it?
Simple Recon, man. Royce, we're on the show. They're talking about getting the cars. So he even said on the show, dealers are getting their cars in 24 hours. From Detroit, Nashville,
Chicago.
Yeah, it's really amazing because we used to wait. I mean, sometimes 4 to 5 days to get those cars. And
I would think 4 to 5 days was quick back before you got a hold of other exchange.
Yeah. It's been again, carriers are looking for the most dollar per mile. And if we're not a broker taking these large cuts in between the customer and the carrier, and more of that money can go back to the carrier and less money that the customer has to pay, the shipper, vehicles move quicker.
So when you're saying you're saving money, you're looking at that through the lens of the broker guy, because you're paying the broker guy probably a lot more than what you're paying the transport guy.
Yeah, we were fully on board with Auto Hauler Exchange just from a convenience standpoint, knowing where our cars are being delivered from, knowing who's bringing the cars, and actually following through and seeing them show up and get here safely. The cost savings was just a plus for us.
Yeah.
So, ideally,
The control is really the key.
absolutely.
I got to know where my stuff is and when it's going to move it. Supposedly, you guys got a deal now where you can track them. You got into that yet?
Yeah.
Some of the drivers where you're like, okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty fluid website. They take constructive criticism. They train us on how to use it, which is important.
Yeah.
And technology is wonderful when it works,
It works.
and if you know how to use it and operate it, it's even better. But the ability to save the dollars
Yeah.
is it's cash for us.
So the last piece, this is why I like talking to you, because I want to see if it's real. Right? So one of the big advantages that I've heard Frank and Royce and Dana talk about with Auto Hauler Exchange is you're a guy who owns a truck and a trailer. In my opinion, that's his business. So he now, in my opinion, has more control of his business and the ability to build a relationship with you. So have you seen any new relationships come out of this? Are you dealing with the same guy on a regular basis?
Yeah. Would you say you're dealing with the same carriers? I mean,
Yeah, we see a ton of repeat carrier volume. There may be various drivers, but we recognize those names. And I mean, there's some cases where we list a car and you're getting an email that it's been accepted onto the board, and you hear the email hit again. And
how quick would you say the majority of the time?
oh, I mean, you can't hardly post it under 5 minutes. Sometimes faster than that. And I kind of get excited because I want to stay on top of the accounting.
Yeah.
I'm printing that dispatch invoice, so to speak,
Right.
and we can expense that to our vehicle inventory because that's critical.
Yeah.
We talked about in the past getting a vehicle, not getting an invoice, selling the car. Oh, our expense isn't on there, and we don't know.
And like Lee's saying, like he's buying from certain auctions 5 days, 4 days a week, but he's buying from the same auctions on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. So that same carrier is waiting outside Manheim, Detroit, and he sees Lee post on the exchange, and he knows he can get it to Ottawa, Kansas, and Lee has 24-hour drop option. So he knows he has some flexibility, but he understands too where that lockbox is. He knows, so he really doesn't, it's kind of autopilot. Once he knows where to pick up at Manheim, Detroit. He knows how to drop off here. And once he's done it every week for the last couple months, it becomes this autopilot for him, and he likes that, right?
Yeah, it's very helpful. As I mentioned earlier, new business, startup business, we're kind of a test pilot. You expect a lot of pain points. You don't expect to save money. You don't expect maybe to have things work out the way you perceive, but it's probably a combination of good people like Frank, good people like Royce and Dana, and it's outstanding when you see something come together. And the way that Auto Hauler Exchange deals with us, the client, I can pick up the phone and call Frank, whether he is in Michigan or he's traveling. He takes that phone call and he stops what he's doing and he treats me, the client, the way I want to be treated. Because ultimately, the most important thing for me at that point is the asset I just purchased and getting the vehicle back here. So the customer service is excellent, and I promise you, you would never have gotten that in any way with a central dispatch type product.
No.
Not even close.
Well, there you have it. That's almost a wrap. Except it's getting close to the end of the month. I mean, at the end of the month, there's probably some good deals floating around here, right?
There's some outstanding deals here. We have some of the best incentives on our new vehicles, the F-150 pickup, industry leader, first place. Ford continues on. Our pre-owned vehicles, we've all fought interest rates this year.
Yeah.
Dealers have had to learn to sell these vehicles in uncertain times, uncertain ways. But Ford's got some of the hottest vehicles with the Bronco, the electric vehicles.
Let's just take a look. So if I need a Bronco, I can come and get one today, right here.
Absolutely.
Ooh,
We've even had a Heritage Edition Bronco here with the white top.
You got the Bronco, and there's the Mustang, Mach-E.
Mach-E Mustang,
Mach-E
all electric.
Mustang.
And we have the beautiful Corvette as the
Yeah, I saw
centerpiece.
Look at this one. So if you're looking for new, we got new. Used, this is basically new though, this Corvette.
500 miles.
500 miles on the Corvette. But it's Bob Allen Ford in Ottawa, Kansas. Lee Walton. Correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. And then you got Frank, Auto Hauler Exchange. So how do we get a hold of you if we need it?
To get a hold of us,
Ford store.
BobAllenFordOttawa.com.
BobAllenFordOttawa.com. Is that right?
Yeah.
See, where's Jay?
Yep,
Don't tell
got
me.
that. So I've got Lee Walton, BobAllenFordOttawa.com. How about is there a phone number or email address or anything like that that's helpful? Like a general mailbox?
785-242-5100.
Say that again for me. 785.
785-242-5100. Bob Allen Ford in Ottawa, Kansas.
785-242-5100. Great. Got it. It's in the live chat. Thanks for saying hello in the live chat. And I've got the website. And we're here with Ty and Frank and Lee. Oh, we have more. Who else is joining us on camera? This is ATI.
Come on. We want to meet everybody. What do you do back here?
Yeah.
Okay,
dealership.
come on.
You got to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
I'm really okay.
No, now that we got you here, tell us who you are and what do you do?
I'm Taylor. I'm learning to be the collision center estimator, and my
Oh.
face looks the color of my shirt right now.
Collision estimator. That's a big job. And you know something about collision.
I do.
You know.
Taylor has an inside track at the dealership as she is my oldest daughter out of 4 children. And so she's come on board to us recently, and we'll be teaching her the way of collision repair. And we just purchased a collision center building and have started repairing vehicles in Ottawa, Kansas.
And then I would assume now it's really a good time for you because the deer getting everybody's car. Is that right?
Yes.
But the
Yeah.
car's hitting the deer more. But yeah.
One's hitting the other, that's for sure.
Has it been busy?
Yes.
Loving it?
Mm-hmm.
Learning a lot?
It's a change of pace for me. I used to be a vet tech, so
Oh, wow.
it's a whole new world, but I'm enjoying it and I get to learn from the best.
It does.
So,
Yeah. He's definitely got the experience. Okay, well, thank you.
all right. See
I
you.
think that's it. Are we good, Jay?
It's a family business. It's Bob Allen Ford in Ottawa. So, Lee, thank you so much for all that insight, sharing that information and stories. We really appreciate it.
Good to meet you. Thank you for your time.
Thank
See you,
you
Jay.
very
Thanks.
much. Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Ty. Thank you, Auto Hauler Exchange. And we'll wrap this out. Thanks so much, guys. This is ATI Auto Business, where we go live, on location, on demand, trade shows, and make sure you can catch a lot more Auto Hauler Exchange on. Been cranking out some YouTube shorts, some great nuggets from Royce. We've got more Royce actually on ATI at Used Car Week, which is coming up in about a week and a half. So that was Thursday. What do we got? Used Car Week is in a week and a half. There's a Tuesday recovery panel that I'm moderating. There's a Thursday ATI workshop that Royce will be on that. Embracing AI in transportation logistics. Because I think you heard, one of the things you heard, and I've got my notes, always taking notes, and only I can read them, is that Lee was talking about, okay, so he's been at the Ottawa store since 2017. The Overland Park store, we're talking Kansas City area, metro. That store has been open for 40 years. He's been full-time in Ottawa since 2020. And that really was the tipping point. You hear this time and again that pre-COVID, physical auctions, life as we knew it. Post-COVID, digital auctions, hooked online, right? Business changed. Everybody knows that. And, it's good to be reminded. But the what's important here is that now that you're buying from digital auctions nationwide, you have to change the way you do many other processes. And that changed the way you did transportation. And now that you are, and he has regions, it sounds like a lot of purchasing from auctions in Michigan, but it really helps to have great technologies when you're outside of your local area. And Auto Hauler Exchange is a great technology that not only helps facilitate the transportation and direct carrier work, but also helps fix some of those other problems where billing, you can't have all this outstanding billing. And this is not something that I think, the average auto transport conversation doesn't talk about the effect of billing on other parties, but rather it's a focus on how soon can I get paid, which is important. But Auto Hauler Exchange is helping solve not only I need to get paid fast problem, but the vendors, the buyers, probably the sellers too, they need to get billing off their books in a timely fashion. So that's pretty awesome information. I really enjoyed today's session. Thanks again, Ty, Frank, and Lee. I really appreciate the help and information. Thank you, Auto Hauler Exchange. We'll see you again soon. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us today, live and on demand, ATI Auto Business, connecting retail, wholesale, logistics, and tech. Thanks so much. Have a great day.